I've never been where I want to be, which for me, I don't think I'll ever get there. I could look from an outside perspective and say, wow, I have this incredible life and I can go wherever I want and I have, funds to do that and I have an incredible business, an incredible team. But internally, I'm not where I want to be. And I think every single time I reach the milestone, I don't really celebrate. I just move on to that next milestone. And I've realized it's not actually a bad thing because I genuinely would continue running businesses even if it wasn't for making money. I would find a lifestyle and find a way to improvise things just because I enjoy that as the process.
Sabrina Stocker. She is a tennis player turned Forbes featured entrepreneur. She's built several successful companies, mentored hundreds of entrepreneurs, and was a finalist in the BBC TV show The Apprentice.
But I'm never going to be the best at anything because someone's always going to know something more than me. And actually leaving my ego in the car park and really, really studying key players is what I'm going to continue to do there, because I've actually been able to learn so much from studying what other people have done. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're so busy in building something and doing that next task that we know needs doing.
Advice for somebody who is listening to this podcast and they want to achieve those three things. Mm-hmm. Where do we start?
I think the first would be...
So welcome to another episode of Screw It, Just Do It with me, Alex, and my very special guest today, Sabrina Stocker.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Exciting times.
Yeah, here we are again, your annual address to the nation.
I feel important. Thank you.
You should.
Appreciate it.
You should. Well, look, Screw It, Just Do It moments. So I want to explore how you went from having your own business in the UK, essentially losing it all in a very short period of time because you couldn't put on any tennis events, to selling everything, moving abroad and setting up and running a business or number of businesses remotely. Talk me through that.
Wow.
Where do we start?
I guess growing up, I always wanted to start a business. The only taste of business I really knew actually was from The Apprentice, funnily enough. And my parents were teachers. So you can imagine this excitable, I want to try everything and crazy girl growing up and both parents being teachers. When I was 19, my friends were working in Waitrose and Sainsbury's and similar. And I was earning £40 an hour, so this is quite a few years ago, coaching tennis. And I was fully booked. And I remember there was this one day and I was definitely about 18, 19. And I was just counting about 5-6K in my bedroom from a couple of months of work. And my dad walks in and I was earning far more than he was at that time.
Oh, really?
And he goes, Sabrina, what's all this money?
What have you robbed?
And I was like, it's from tennis coaching. And he goes, you need to put that into a bank. You need to save up for a car deposit. Now, obviously, I didn't listen to him because it was my dad and I was living like an absolute queen. And I guess one of my biggest Screw It, Just Do It's was going, you know what? I'm only going to earn £40 an hour. And I quit. And I stopped coaching tennis overnight, basically, started the tennis events company and got that going. And I guess it was that big mind share of when I was growing up, £40 an hour was a lot of money to earn. And to think at that age, that's the maximum I'm going to earn in this job probably, and to quit was quite a big step for me. And I guess the second biggest Screw It, Just Do It moment was when I was running a new startup PR company in my local coffee shop. And I thought, well, hey, if I'm working here, I could work anywhere. So being a little bit impulsive and spontaneous as I am, within a month, I'd sold my car, which was like a beautiful AMG blacked out Mercedes.
I remember you selling
I
that.
loved it so much. Loved it so much. Stopped my rent, sold everything, and I moved to Egypt. And I guess it's those spontaneous, impulsive moments that my friends think, well, I'm a little bit crazy.
It's funny, isn't it? Because if you think of somebody, and again, like my eldest daughter just started working last summer for the first time and, earning £7 an hour or something. But at that point, how do you envisage earning double that? How do you earn, like you say, 40, pounds an hour? But then now it's like, is it £400 an hour? Is it £4,000 an hour? Whatever it is. But it's mindset, yeah? Mm-hmm.
It was the fact I knew I wanted more. And I saw other people around me. So I grew up as a very humble, I had a very humble upbringing. And because it was playing in the tennis world, I was growing up and I was seeing a lot of families who had a significant amount of wealth. And I thought, my parents work hard and they have a stable job and they've done the route that they were told to do. And there's no way they could save up and afford that lifestyle. So it's not that I'm not working hard. It's that I'm working hard at the wrong thing. And what could be the right thing that could create a different kind of life for me?
And I imagine there's a lot of people who dream of, selling up, traveling, working remotely. What's your advice to anybody who's listening and they're in that space now, who's procrastinating, maybe they're feeling a little bit fearful?
Do you want to go abroad, Alex? Is that the question? I think for me, it was a lot easier than some people in their situations. I was single. I didn't have a mortgage to pay. My business was online by that point. I didn't really have any responsibilities. I don't have kids. That's obviously a big game changer.
Yeah.
For me, it's about freedom. So have you got in what you're doing time freedom? Have you got financial freedom? And have you got that ability to work from anywhere? So location freedom. And no matter where you are, how much freedom can you bring into your life? And what freedom is going to allow you to explore and choose those possibilities?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And at that point in time, when you made that decision in your head, were you thinking, or have you thought, what was the worst thing that could have happened to me? Or did that not even enter the...
didn't occur. It did not occur. I just thought, I thought the worst thing that could happen to me was that I kept going to my local coffee shop and working from there rather than working from somewhere else. And for me, that was more scary than actually going away.
Interesting. And it's it's something I've thought about for the future, like the other side, when you go out the other side, which will come to you one day, when you go out the other side and your kids then, start jobs, go to uni, whatever it's going to be. And you go all of a sudden, okay, you don't have, the mortgage might be paid off, et cetera. So you go, okay, could you do a job remotely? And it's just like, yeah, could literally go anywhere in the world. You could even, this podcast could go remotely again, but you could just fly in and record 4 interviews in a day and you're done, So it is really interesting. And it's something that I think a lot of people think about, but again, it's like starting a business, isn't it? 99% of people never make that decision.
I think the way that we've been educated and brought up on our mindset is specifically so we don't do the get up and go lifestyle, because it would be absolute chaos.
Oh, could you imagine? Everyone left the UK, follow the sun or the snow or whatever. Yeah.
And it would be chaos. And the working class would leave the country. Then we wouldn't have anyone to run the place, right?
Yeah.
If everyone had, and if it was easy to create that freedom lifestyle, it would be chaos.
Yeah.
So therefore, we need to start challenging our beliefs mindsets. And it's interesting you say the other side. My mum, after a lot of time bringing her into it, and my dad, they've both left their jobs, or my mum's just given him a notice.
As teachers?
As teachers, and she was a legal secretary too. And by bringing them out of there, they're like, okay, well, if Sabrina's doing it, maybe I can try it. And actually that process of, okay, now they work from home successfully. What's the next steps? Now, where can they work from? Yes, they have a few more responsibilities than I do, but you can do it at any age. And if you think that you can't, that is really your own mindset.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is if it comes to that point, and it's just your own mindset. But we'll go down the route of conspiracy theories at this rate, won't we? So it'll be chaos. Everyone leave the UK. So there is that thing that the message that the authorities and the government want to put out there is that they want us. They want all of us to stay here and they want all of us to work. Otherwise, like as you said, there will be no workers then getting the taxes to be able to pay for the different services that we have in the country.
And I understand why they do that.
Yeah.
But you also have to think, is that what's going to make you happy? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with being really happy with your job. There's nothing wrong with having and enjoying that stability. But it may not be for everyone. And are we happy because we actually enjoy it, or are we happy because we don't know the difference and therefore we try to justify it to ourselves that this is what I enjoy?
Yeah. And what's the best thing having made that leap, or best things having made that leap for you anyway?
Honestly, the experiences. I've zip lined in the Mexican, I guess, jungle or rainforest, however you'd call it. I've woken up to the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I've lived in tree houses. I've gone zip lining in the Rockies and across the fastest places. I think the experiences that you get from being able to think, oh, okay, great, it's the weekend. Now that I've finished and have a little bit of time, I'm not going to go to my local supermarket and get food. I'm going to go do something exciting. And rather than turning what we would say our holidays are going to be, of horse riding on the beach or going to explore somewhere, that just becomes life.
Yeah.
And it pushes you in so many different ways that you actually start learning and progressing and wanting more out of life rather than just the mundane, okay, great, it's the weekend.
And do you, again, having spent a lot of time in Mexico and the US, do you see like a real stark difference in UK mindset to US mindset?
Even before I went away, I'd say I'd seen a big stark difference. I feel that within the UK, we're a little bit more reserved. And because we're a little bit more reserved and we don't shout about it compared to the US, where you've got these big coaches and YouTube and there's all these massive big events and everyone has this really intense personality, because we're now moving into a content world and we have attention, they're getting all the attention compared to us. So I really think as creators, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we could look to some certain individuals in the US and think, well, actually, if everyone knows who they are and they're providing an incredible service for everyone else, if we did the same, what would happen to us? And yes, of course, the US is bigger and maybe they're a little bit more ahead in terms of their branding. But if we did change that in the UK, how much would that actually impact our business?
What do you procrastinate over?
Good question. Actually filming content. It's extremely hard to travel with one suitcase, which now turned into two, with good equipment. I do think it's gotten a little bit harder, and maybe this is my personal one because of the quality that we're now expecting from content. So therefore being able to travel and moving hotels every couple of days is a little bit trickier, but that's just something I'm working on.
Yeah, and look, it's like anything in life, isn't it? I don't think it needs to be perfect. I mean, yes, we're here in the same studio that the High Performance Podcast uses, like one of the biggest podcasts in the UK, but equally, people consume content, whether it's shot in somebody's kitchen and it's real, it's
it's all the technical stuff, Alex.
Well, I know how many times have we created content together, from a hotel room
it's been great.
to the hotel lobby, and I've been in the studio at the bottom of my garden and all those other variations on a theme.
I know, you'll see me every day now, 50 posts a day, Gary Vee style.
And are you where you want to be now as a person, as a business?
I've never been where I want to be, which for me, I don't think I'll ever get there. Because when I could look from an outside perspective and say, wow, I have this incredible life and I can go wherever I want and I have funds to do that and I have an incredible business, an incredible team. But internally, I'm not where I want to be. And I think every single time I reach the milestone, I don't really celebrate. I just move on to that next milestone. And I've realized it's not actually a bad thing, because I genuinely would continue running businesses even if it wasn't for making money. I would find a lifestyle and find a way to improvise things just because I enjoy that as the process. And I think if I ever did say, oh, I'm successful, I don't need to keep going, I'd get incredibly bored. And that would then fuel and stop the fuel of me being able to get to that next level. Yeah, okay.
So I like that. And I'm the same in that you almost set it up that way that you'll never, you'll kind of never get there where you want to be. But part of me said, you 100% agree with you. You need to enjoy the process. It's the journey. It's not the final destination type thing. But equally, something that I will say to you is that, and I remember interviewing Rowena Bird from Lush, and they were 25 years old, $1 billion business, and I was like, "How did you celebrate?" And she was like, "We didn't." And I was just like that. Hey, what do you mean you didn't celebrate? And I'm like, I have to bring you up on that, Rowena. I was just like, I have to say, I'm a great believer in celebrating the successes along the way, on the journey.
You
So
know
I'll
what?
bring you up on that a little bit.
I do remember the time we celebrated together. I think I was 2.5 months in, and we reached 100 clients, which was crazy.
Oh my God, I do
and
remember that.
And we ran out a huge bill at the very top of the Burj Khalifa.
I do remember that very well, and it was a very large bill
great.
for 3 people at the time.
I guess it's continuous celebration internally. It's something I allow the team to celebrate, maybe, but I'm always just thinking, what's next?
Yeah, I'm the same.
So it's a tricky one for me.
Yeah, it is. But I do think you need to kind of look around, enjoy the present, not always be focusing on the future, or equally for those who just focus on the past, of which there are many people who clearly do that. Is the current vehicle 2 PR the one that's going to get you to the final destination that you're never going to reach anyway?
I think it's really interesting. We tried a strategy now about kind of 4 months ago. And this strategy was a B2B lead generation tool that I've created. And I was like, let me see how it works for my business first. Oh my goodness. We had like 400 leads. We've had just over 90 clients, which has been insane. And what we did a lot of this, and I'm a big fan of actually Alex Hormozy, is we completely revamped our offer. So now, rather than just being a PR agency, we guarantee we'll get someone on TV within 90 days, which is completely scary because it's a huge promise.
Yeah, it is.
But because of that, and because of the way that we structured it, it really has accelerated that business. That in itself is very exciting. And I have a couple of other ventures that I'm working on in the meantime. I think one business for the rest of my life would be incredibly boring, but actually being able to scale and start these new businesses that I'm doing right now is very exciting at the same time.
Okay, good answer. Anything that needs to change, you or the business, or both?
One thing I can say that I did change over the last few months is my time that I put into learning, because I think I'm very good at what I do, but I'm never going to be the best at anything because someone's always going to know something more than me. And actually leaving my ego in the car park and really studying key players is what I'm going to continue to do there, because I've actually been able to learn so much from studying what other people have done. And sometimes we're so busy in building something and doing that next task that we know needs doing, we actually stop to take a step back. And that step back has been, 10 steps forwards.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that over the last, I would say, 6 months, a year maybe, once you get fully into that next growth stage and you're onboarding new team members because you've got more clients, etc. But you don't take that time to step back. Maybe, it's good to go away for a couple of days, lock yourself in somewhere, I don't know, some location and actually get some headspace and away from the minutiae of life.
And it's hard because someone like yourself, someone like me, we like to keep busy.
Yeah.
But sometimes actually thinking, have I got time to think? And that time to think has been a really big game changer for me.
So here's one. Take me back to Sabrina, who was just starting out in life. Was there a career plan, tennis player perhaps, having won Queen's as a 12-year-old? Yeah, there you go. So starting out, that took you from that path to starting your first business as an entrepreneur. So take me back to that time. Was there a plan? What took you then from thinking about potentially a tennis career to then actually instead going to start that business?
It all fumbled into place.
Fumbled.
And I would say that, at school, I was an absolute geek. I would be deadly upset if I didn't get full marks in everything.
Right.
And I just, maybe it was because my parents were teachers. My mum was
kids were like
Indian. I have lots of reasons what it might have been, but I always wanted to just be the best. Just because I wanted to be the best. So it's very, very competitive. I didn't know what I wanted to study. At one point, I was going to go into law, then into politics, then into economics. Then at one point, I wanted to be a physician. Can you imagine that and study?
No, I can't imagine that.
Things?
I can imagine the politician bit.
And actually, when I was 15 years old, I was helping my boss at the time. I started working when I was really young, create a tennis tournament. And I earned him £10,000 in 5 days. And I got so angry and frustrated that it took him 6 months to pay me £150.
Right.
And that was actually the fuel on why I wanted to go into that tennis specific industry, because I knew there was money, and that was a lot of money for me at that time. And I also knew I enjoyed it, and I was good at it, and I learned it. So actually, I kind of found the frustration of that pain when I was 15, and I started my tennis company a couple of years later, and I figured out how he did it, and I ended up actually running the events at the venue that he used to run them at.
And was he just late paying you? Is that what?
He was just very late paying me. I don't like being paid late. No one likes being paid late.
No one likes being paid late. No. We should pay yourself first, don't you? Is one of those things, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Having that kind of mindset. Interesting. Okay, what ambitions do you still have for yourself then?
Many ambitions. I am hopefully, and we have got contract signed, which is very exciting, going to be running an event at the United Nations, which will be very interesting. I'm currently in the process of writing a book, which is great. Very similar to the 21 Lessons from the 21st Century, one of my favourite books.
Okay.
And
I don't think I know that one.
It's a very good book.
Okay.
And I guess helping other companies scale, because I wish that I had someone young, enthusiastic, transparent as a mentor when I was growing up. And there are a lot of people who help them, but a lot of them haven't actually run businesses. So I'd love to give back as well and help other people scale at a young age so that they can experience the life I've created.
I know that's one of your pet hates, isn't it? Business coaches who've never run a business.
I think when you're thinking about running a business, it's not easy. Everyone glams up entrepreneurship to be this, and I bet they just do it so they get more swipes on Tinder.
Sure.
But everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and really not everyone should be. It's not the best place for everybody. But if it happens, let it happen. And it's kind of like when you compare personal diets to the fitness world. You try a diet. The diet's awful in itself because it actually doesn't change the lifestyle and the mind style. And then you have this belief in yourself that you can't do it, and it's on you, when actually it was the system and process that you put yourself into. And that could be the same as a lot of coaches and mentors.
And we were talking earlier about traveling, selling everything up, moving abroad, but we're in the UK. What's going on? We're filming in London.
I've had some really exciting opportunities here, which have been great.
Tell us about that.
Well, I started acting.
Acting? Are you acting now?
You brought this up deliberately. So to give everyone a bit of a backstory, I decided spontaneously to try some acting classes because I really love being on screen. I did a lot of acting when I was growing up. I turned up to have a coffee with Alex a few weeks ago, and I gave him a script. Oh my goodness!
It's typical Sabrina. I was not prepped at all. I was called Johnny, by the way. I was called Johnny. No H.
It wasn't a typical script. The other scripts I've done are from Netflix shows and Hollyoaks. And
did you give me some Z-list movie, some zombie movie? I gave him Dracula. It wasn't a zombie movie. It was freaking Dracula.
Do you know how nervous I was to play Dracula?
Is Johnny actually in Dracula? Can anybody write in and let us know about this? I don't even know if there is a Johnny in Dracula.
So I've been doing some really fun acting classes. And then also I do try to come back and see family just because I think that's really nice.
Good daughter.
Yeah.
Ticking the box. Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. We like that. What do your family and friends think of your lifestyle right now then? Do they tell you, for example? Do your parents tell you?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I hope some people don't listen to this with what I'm about to say. I lost so many friends. My friends are not the same friends as they were 3 years ago to 5 years ago to 8 years ago, that they keep changing. Yes, I do believe that friends come and go in your life.
Yep.
But I got so much, I would say so much disbelief from some of my friends that I wasn't going to achieve something, or why was I doing something differently? Or Sabrina, you've changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, you haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do remember I ended up going away for 1-2 months at a time, and I came back and everything was the same, and my friends would still go to Moons in the evening. And I was thinking, I've just travelled through, Cambodia, and now you're still going to Moons. And I just kept feeling a very strong disconnect between people who I thought were my friends. And I also felt actually that they gave me the most amount of resilience to what I was trying to do. And as I've gone through, my friends have continued to change. And now I'd say the people closest to me are actually those who I'm in an active partnership with, or I create content with, or we're always bouncing ideas with each other and talking about business, because anything else I don't find exciting. And because of that, and because my friends have changed, it's also changed those conversations as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think that whole conversation is interesting. You could literally spend an hour talking about that one. But you're right when you say, when your friends might say to you, "Oh, you've changed," and you're like, "Well, of course I am. I'm growing. I'm learning stuff. I'm learning stuff about myself. I'm improving myself. I'm improving my business. I'm improving my team. Hopefully, improving the people around you as well." Whereas those who are still doing the same things that they were doing when they were teenagers, going to the same places, doing the same thing, you're just like that. Is that a life?
Mm-hmm. It's been a big change since I stopped drinking as well. I wasn't allowed to drink when I was growing up because my parents were very strict. Obviously, as soon as you leave the house, and you'll appreciate
what's
this.
What's the first thing you do?
You appreciate this with your daughters as well, but
it started already.
You drink extra, and I drank a lot. And in tennis, everyone drinks a lot. And actually, finding
sociable.
friends who don't drink, and I've been sober for quite a few years now, maybe 2. It's good. 2, maybe 1. 1.5 works. But I'm really proud of myself, and I don't need to drink to have a good time. And finding others who are in the same boat is been actually a challenge, but it's been great.
That's becoming more and more popular. It's interesting within, I would say, your age group, whereas I think younger than that, it seems that whether it's like skipped a generation or something, and whether that's seeing your parents and your parents' friends, you know, doing that thing over and over again, etc., or, you know, those people. I think that's a really interesting topic because I see it more and more.
Honestly, growing up, my parents don't drink, and I thought they were crazy.
Right.
I was like, "You don't drink? What do you do for fun? You're so boring."
Yeah.
And now it's the opposite, and I've gone into the biohacking space, and everything in terms of my lifestyle has completely changed in terms of my knowledge and how I act every single day. In the UK, we drink astronomically compared to other countries. Mexico, minus a little bit of tequila, nobody really drinks that much. In the States, it's very grounded. In Asia, it's very calm. In Europe, you drink with a meal. In the UK, we have an absolutely crazy... I use the word crazy because I feel like it's a word I can use because I can describe how I look back at myself rather than judging someone else. We drink a lot.
Yeah.
And actually those detrimental impacts of how we feel, we're covering up how we feel and actually are hiding away boredom. Yeah,
boredom. Interesting. So here's a question that I got asked. When was it? Thursday. So what are we? Monday? Only a few days ago, and this is from my 16-year-old daughter, nearly soon to be 16-year-old daughter. He said to me, "What's the point of drinking if you don't get drunk?" And I just thought, wow, how long have you got? We've got a 10-minute drive home to the house. I can't answer that in 10 minutes, but I just thought that's really, you know, where's that come from? Where's that, you know, and again, you don't want to sound like a lecturing, boring father, which I clearly must have done anyway. But that whole thing that, you know, went into that, you know, we are the only country or one of the very few countries who seem to think binge drinking until you literally pass out drunk is a good thing. Whereas, you know, other European countries said, yes, you know, you can... because, you know, it relaxes you, you lose your inhibitions, and then you're trying to do the, you know, especially having daughters instead of sons, you're trying to go and you need to stay in control if you are drinking alcohol, because there are people out there who will not have the same thoughts that other people might have, and they might be, you know, using it as a tool to get what they want. But I'm like, Jesus Jones, it opens up a whole can of bloody... I mean, how would you answer that question?
I would say, you know, I did this podcast with Sabrina. You should have a listen. I was exactly the same at that age.
Right, okay.
I was so excited to get drunk and to know what it's like to black out and to go crazy on the dance floor and have these wild nights with my girls. I guess there's so many different aspects, but if I was listening to this, it's as a young, I'd be, oh, she's just lecturing. Like, what does she know? She's old. That's how I'd probably feel at that age. But if I could go back and tell myself, my 16-year-old self of 18, my 18-year-old self, that what the impacts of drinking are, you know, I would never drink. And it's the mental clarity. But also one thing you said, not everyone has the right intentions. And no 18-year-old wants to hear that from her dad.
No. Clearly.
So good luck.
That's a good luck. Yeah, thanks for that. I was going to say everything in moderation, but you know what? I heard, I wish I could remember who the bloody hell said it in an interview. I was listening to a podcast I was listening to, obviously. And they said, no, screw moderation. If you do everything in moderation, you live a moderate life. Who the hell wants a moderate life? And I was like, I really like that phrase.
That's a great one.
So I'm not going to use that, everything in moderation or drink in moderation. It's just like, yeah, all or nothing, I suppose. Okay, couple of ones to finish up. Do you crave stability, structure, or are they long gone?
Define stability would be my answer to that.
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
My current stability is being able to have those three different freedoms: time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. That is my stability. If that goes away, that's when I feel that I'm most insecure and I don't know what's going on. So my definition would be that I have control over those three different things, because then I have control over my choices. Whereas the idea, and I don't mean to offend anyone who does generally find this happy, but the idea of having a mortgage to pay and a stable job of a 9 to 5 is absolutely my worst fear. Will that change when I want to have kids? Yes, it probably will, because that's a whole new board game. But as a female who I currently am, my idea of stability is having those three different types of freedom.
So let's repeat those three different types of freedom. So time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have all of them at the moment?
We do.
Okay.
which is exciting, and it's taken a lot of work to get there, but also a lot of education and learning myself of why did I not have that before, and how do I have that, and how do I keep it.
Okay, so advice for somebody who is listening to this podcast and they want to achieve those three things. Where do we start?
I think the first would be financial freedom, because financial freedom means that money doesn't excite me, but there's two things there. One, because I have been there before, is the fear of not having money. Yep. And the fear of not having money is a huge stress, not only to yourself, but also to your mindset, to everything. If you don't have money, you can't make any choices. You are having to do everything that you have to do just to pay the bills. The flip side of that is the choices, which is the more optimistic side of things. Hey, if I do have money, now I can go to dinner and I can pay for everyone to have dinner, and I don't even need to look at the bill. Yeah. If I said that to myself, 5 years ago, everyone would be literally, my friends would go down that bill and we would be titling up like the 32 pences and the 64 pences.
You ordered the extra bread roll.
We did. That's how, how our mindset was, and as how tight we were on money.
Scarcity mindset.
Someone had a Diet Coke. Oh, you had a big, you're paying £1 extra. That mindset to being able to now pick up the bill is a huge amount of success to me, and to feel like that. The fact that I can treat my mum and bring her to Mexico and put her in a nice accommodation so she can have a nice holiday while I'm out there, that to me is an absolute privilege of showing the work that I've done. Financial freedom allows you to make those funds. Yeah. Now, do you need to quit your job? No. Of course you don't. But could you start a side hustle in the evening? Could you learn what kind of different businesses there are? And once you start that side hustle, is that something you want to continue? Or you can just juggle both at the same time? Yeah. Then I'd probably say it comes down to location freedom. So now that you've started your side hustle, can you do that from working in your bedroom or from a cafe? If you can do that from a cafe in a local town, can you do that from a local cafe in Spain, right? So then moving into having your own side hustle, having your own side business into where you can work from. The time freedom really comes down to being able to system and optimize what you're currently doing and earning enough to learn how to create those systems. So now in my agency, and I could cry of happiness, I click a button and everything takes place, and I hire someone just to maintain and to ensure that system's running. Yep. And that's where you get the time freedom coming in a simplistic form of 3 different steps.
It's a good chat, eh?
Yeah.
Good conversation. I like that. No, I agree. I think I agree with the order that you described it in as well, because if you don't have that financial freedom, you've got that scarcity mindset, and every decision you make comes from that scarce place, and everything's driven by fear.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's driven by fear, and it's, I've been there as well. It's not a good place to be. You don't make good decisions.
No.
You're making decisions for the short term. You don't have a long-term view. You don't have a vision to be able to make decisions that are going to impact you positively 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years down the line. Everything's about right here, right now. What do I need to pay the bloody bills? It's awful. And people are listening who are going to be in that mindset.
Yeah. And it's a horrible place to be. I do feel that pain of, because I've been there and had that feeling of not knowing if I was going to pay rent or not. The pain and suffering should be telling you that something's not right. And I feel like too many of us go, oh, I'm feeling pain and I'm feeling suffering, and therefore I should feel sorry for myself and I should back off and I should be able to talk about my feelings. My thoughts are that, yes, if you're feeling pain, you need to change something dramatically. And that is your body, that is your mind saying something's not right. And you are the only person who's going to change that. And having that I guess that pain driving you forward is actually the suffering where you're going to learn the most. Yeah. And if it's something, if you feel like right now you're stressed or you're overwhelmed or you don't know when the next payment check's going to come in, or you don't know, that pain is telling you to change the decisions that you're currently making, because the decisions you're currently making are not giving you the outcome that's going to allow you to be happy or allow you to relax.
Very true. And it's that definition of madness, isn't it? If you're doing the same thing and you're getting the same results, you need to change what you're doing. And also, people think, I always think back to an example. I always remember interviewing, we've done a number of interviews with these guys like Jamie and Ed from Candy Kittens, Jamie Lang and Ed Williams, and them saying the amount of times they couldn't make payroll. It came to last Friday of the month and they had a team of, 15 people or whatever, and they couldn't make payroll. And they're thinking, how the hell do we pay everybody's wages this month? So it does happen to everybody. And starting a business, you will have those growing pains as well. As you're growing, you're scaling a business, you're going from 1 person to 3 people to 9 people to 21 people, whatever it is. But it's, as you say, it starts with having the mindset 100%. I think that's a really good place to end it.
Yeah.
Why take it in another direction? I think it's a really good way to end it for people listening who want to improve themselves, start a business, improve their careers, improve their businesses, whatever it is, whatever your reason for listening to this show is, to get out of procrastinating and do that thing that you want to do that gets you to where you want to be. I think it's been a good conversation.
I've enjoyed it, and I hope any listeners who have heard this start challenging their mindset and start and even every single day I'm challenging mine and thinking, what could I change and why do I think this particular thought, and it's powerful. And
finish off, just remembered, I usually forget this one again, people want to connect with you, best way to go?
Well, I'd probably say Instagram or LinkedIn, Sabrina Stocker, and I'll try and be open and post fun things on there. And if you've listened to this episode, you can drop me a DM and I'll always message back. And if you are looking to be on your brand and be on TV, then you can check out beontv.io. But apart from that, it's been an absolute pleasure, Alex, and I do really hope your listeners have enjoyed this episode.
I'm sure they have. Sabrina Stocker, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this episode of Screw It, Just Do It. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below this video. Has this episode helped move you closer to where you want to be? All that I ask is that if you enjoyed this episode and then it's moved you closer to getting to where you want to be, that you share this episode so that it helps one other person do just the same. Just ask yourself what small action will move you forward to get you from where you are, then screw it and just do it. Until next time.